Welcome, Abdullah. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself, please, from the beginning?
Of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Abdullah Musa. I am a software developer and cybersecurity engineer, and today I would like to talk to you about some essential practices for a secure workplace. Okay, so here's the agenda for the presentation. We will start with a quick introduction, and we will learn about why these topics are so essential. Next, we will dive into the first topic, which is passwords and authentication. We will discuss different forms of multi-factor authentication, as well as some good practices, good password practices. After that, I will discuss phishing defense. I will go over what phishing is, the many types of it, and what attackers are using it for. And the last principle we will cover is social engineering, which has always been my favorite. It's always been very interesting to me, and it incorporates really well with the other topics. Okay, so here's a little introduction. In today's rapidly evolving digital landscape, cybersecurity has become more critical than ever. The rise of cyber threats poses significant risk to not just corporations, but also individuals. This presentation hopefully aims to help you understand the fundamental knowledge needed to foster a secure workplace environment. Every employee plays a very important role in ensuring the resilience of an organization against the cyber threats. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and you can have the best defense, the best firewalls, the best technology. But if you have an employee that's sitting there clicking on scam emails all day, you're not going to have a good time. Okay, so one of the foundational pillars of cybersecurity is the use of strong passwords and robust authentication methods. Weak passwords are susceptible to hacking attempts, which can potentially compromise your accounts and any sensitive data linked to it. So when crafting a strong password, you want to make sure to use uppercase and lowercase letters, some numbers, any special characters you can think of. There's a very good reason why modern websites require you to include at least one of those things. Next is multi-factor authentication, or MFA. This provides an extra layer of defense by requiring more than one form of verification. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with it. An example would be needing to enter an SMS code when trying to log in. If an attacker has your password, which if you practice good password etiquette, should be very challenging. But if you have multi-factor authentication, they would also need your password and access to your SIM, which is a lot harder to do. But it is not impossible. I've seen cases where people would go and they would use social engineering, which we will talk about in a little bit. They would go and pretend to be that person just to get access to their SIM card. They would request a new SIM card, and it's a very tricky thing to undo. So multi-factor authentication comes in many different forms. Generally, can be broken down into these categories on the bottom right. The first is what you know. This could be usernames, passwords, emails, or any security question, like what your first pet's name was. What you have is another category. This could be a unique SMS code to your smartphone that you need to input, or it could be a code from like Google Authenticator. I know a lot of people at my university use that, and they've recently, I think they made it a requirement for this semester to have that installed if you want to log into any of your accounts. Also, what you have could also, I've seen physical, like USBs people plug into laptops that generate keys to unlock them. Yeah. So what you are, this is probably the most one that you use every day. What you are could be fingerprints, could be facial recognition, just what a lot of modern smartphones come with. And the last one is where you are. So where you are is when you require a user to log in from a specific geographical location. I know there are some banks that won't let you do any online banking if you're outside of the country. Um, it's just a measure to make sure that there's no one from a foreign country in your bank account. So now we're going to cover phishing. So what is phishing? A phishing attack often involves deceptive emails or messages that appear to be genuine, aiming to trick the recipient into revealing sensitive information. Phishing attacks have no limit and continue to be the top choice for black hat personnel. So phishing attacks really, they continue to be very prevalent online. It is crucial to be able to recognize the signs of a phishing attack, and we'll go over some of them in a little bit. Let's go over the types of phishing right now. So deceptive phishing, these are phishing attacks that are sent to a bunch of different people without any prior research, and the hackers are hoping that someone will click the link with inside. You've probably gotten some of these in your junk mail. Only a very small percentage of people actually click on them, but the attackers are used to sending thousands of these every day. So the chances of someone clicking on it is almost guaranteed, which is unfortunate. The next is whaling, targeting people of power such as CEOs and admins. These attacks are well planned with lots of research. The third one is spear phishing. A minor amount of research is done by the attackers to target some specific people. We will see this type of phishing in the upcoming case study that I included. And the last one is farming. The practice of directing users to a fake domain that mimics a legitimate one. Here's an example like youtube.com, but without the E at the end. Some people might misspell it, mistype it, and attackers would claim a domain that sounds very similar to a legit one, and they would make it look like it's very legit. But as soon as you log in, they'll just steal your information. It goes right to them. Some companies will even buy up domains that are spelt in a similar way to help prevent this type of attack. If you accidentally put too many O's when you're trying to go to Google, it will automatically redirect you to the correct domain. I'm sure Google spent a lot of money to buy a lot of similar domains to make sure no one ends up on the wrong side. Let's see, next slide. The signs of a phishing attack. So a phishing attack often involves urgent requests for personal data, misspellings, and weird URLs. You want to always make sure to hover over any hyperlink to see where they take you. Some people even put a link that looks like a link to like your bank, for example. But if you just hover over it a little bit, it will show you where it's actually taking you. And social engineering awareness. So social engineering is the manipulative tactics to exploit human psychology to gain sensitive information. This is usually done by impersonating someone of authority or trust in the workplace. Attackers will often create high pressure situations to make you panic. For example, they would be like, they'll call you up and they'll start demanding for certain information. They'll tell you the boss needs that information right now. You don't want to keep them waiting. And so once you're in that state of panic, a little bit of a panic, you kind of let your guard down. You don't think critically, and you might just sit there trying to give them the information they want right away just to make sure they're all happy and everything and you're doing your job good. There's also a well-known YouTube video where a woman calls a bank representative trying to get some sensitive information. She uses a baby crying. She uses a video of a baby crying on full volume to make it sound like she's busy and doesn't have time to provide all the necessary details. She sounds desperate and in a hurry, and she just wants to figure out what her husband's details are. The representative was trying to be helpful and gave her all the information she asked for, which is not good. But that's a good example of creating high pressure situations to kind of lower your guard. Okay, so for social engineering prevention, always be cautious when asked about any sensitive information. Make sure to be calm and think critically. Take a step back and really think about how much you really know about this person. They could call you up pretending to be the IT department, and they could be asking for your password and all this and that, but you really don't know who's on the other side of this phone. Common signs are generic greetings, urgent demands, and suspicious URLs. These common signs are very similar to the phishing because phishing is just a form of social engineering. Social engineering could be just an umbrella term for anything manipulative or anything of that nature. Here's a case study demonstrating the importance of the three topics we've covered today. So a group of hackers believed to be connected to North Korea attacked the Bangladesh bank in February of 2016. The attackers' aim was to steal almost $1 billion from the bank. The attacks were, which would have been the biggest bank heist ever in history. The attackers were requesting money transfers from the bank's accounts held at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. But thankfully they only made it out with $81 million at the end, which is still a lot. And it's a lot of people's money. You know, this is the bank was in charge of making sure everyone's money was safe and secure, and they failed them. But the reason that they failed them is because they didn't follow the three principles we just talked about. So phishing was the initial attack vector. The attackers were targeting phishing emails to all the employees, and 3 people actually downloaded the zip file attached. No, I misspelled attached there. Were actually downloaded the zip files attached to the emails thinking they were innocent messages. The emails looked, I couldn't find the actual one online, but they looked something like the picture on the left. It was just an innocent looking email about a man asking if he could get a job interview at their bank. He included a zip file containing his resume. And most of the people ignored it, but as you can see, it only took 3 people for them to gain access to the bank and potentially steal $1 billion. So these emails allowed them to get their foot into the door and start causing harm. Once inside, the attackers gained access to the Swift terminal and printer by exploiting their weak passwords. The employee in charge of the Swift terminal, which if you guys don't know, Swift is just a global, I don't know too much about it, but my understanding of it is just a global financial system that connects a lot of the big banks and a lot of the money reserves, and they can put money orders in, money requests for transfers from around the world. It's a very quick system. It's a very it was seen as very reliable, and but just like I said before, the security is only as reliable as the humans behind it, you know. So the employee that was in charge of the Swift terminal, it was always intended to be separate from any of the network inside the bank. You always want to keep anything that important separated, segmented away from the rest of the network. But the employee in charge of the terminal logged into his Swift account on a computer that was on the main network, and his passwords were not that comprehensive, and so they're able to gain access to it. After they gained access, they sent fraudulent Swift transfer requests from the Bangladesh bank's account to the New York Federal Reserve. Was it Federal Reserve? I don't remember, but they sent those fake money transfers, and they weren't able to get the full $1 billion due to a typo in their Swift request, which caused them to be rejected. They went through all the trouble of hacking into the bank, getting into the terminal, waiting months and months of planning to do this attack, but they unfortunately, well, it is fortunate that they actually forgot to spell a couple words correctly, and someone in New York was able to pick up on that and deny their requests, thinking they looked a little suspicious. So the lessons learned, the main takeaways are strong, unique passwords are the first line of defense against cyber threats. Proper multi-factor authentication would have prevented them from accessing the Swift terminal. And knowledge is our most potent weapon against these attacks. Educating these employees about phishing red flags empowers them to identify and stop such attempts. I still think it's crazy that those 3 employees downloaded that zip file and opened it on their computer. But you have to, when you work as a cybersecurity engineer or a contractor, anything like that, you always have to assume that your customers or your employees that you work with, that they know nothing about these type of attacks, these type of scams. You always have to make sure you give them the basic level understanding, and just make sure they understand all the red flags and understand that there's people always trying to come after individuals and corporations trying to get a way in, and they are very important to making sure that doesn't happen. So in the conclusion, there is a vast landscape of knowledge to explore still in cybersecurity. There was a lot I cut out from the presentation, like remote work security, fortifying device security, safe browsing practices. So you always want to, if you have the time to go out and learn these things, they're very important. They're very important just for your day-to-day, not even just in the workplace. But I hope through our presentation today that you've gained some insight in cybersecurity, from recognizing the significance of robust passwords to identifying the signs of a phishing attack. Your dedication to these fundamental principles strengthen our digital resilience and helps to navigate online with confidence. Let's not forget, every individual plays a pivotal role in the cybersecurity defense of our organization. You need to be the human firewall, basically, standing as the first line of defense against cyber threats. And that's it.